welcome to Retro Vehicles and Machinery. This week I'm having another look at my little Seagull outboard, my 40 outboard. I've got a new spark plug for it, and I've also got a new impeller. Even though we had a bit of water returning eventually last time, I thought I'd get a new impeller for it and fit that up, see how it goes. Also, since it's been run before, I put the oil in the leg, it has dropped some out, so I'm going to remove the propeller and have a look to see if there's an oil seal there I can get as well, so we can put that back together and make a nice job of it. Removing the propeller here, it looks as though it's just a little split pin that holds the prop on. Split pin, a washer, and then the little breakaway spring. Oh yes, see what's happened to the oil seal. I have to use a copper hammer on that. I've got my motorcycle flywheel puller here. I've got a little washer I'm going to put on the end so as not to damage the shaft. Hopefully this will pull the prop off. It's done a nice job of that. Propeller off. You can see in there the oil that's come out from there's sitting in there. I'd imagine there's an O-ring or an oil seal that's supposed to be in there. Yeah, there's the remnants of something here. Whatever it is all gone. And there's a brass ring here. It looks like that has a roll pin going through it. Some sort of seal behind there. Let's see if I can find a drift and knock that out. That one should work well. Perfect. So there's the roll pin removed. Yeah, I didn't think he'd just slide off. Coming. I think we need the puller again. Brass collar off. Rubber seal in there. Oh yeah, it's just basically what's happened is it looks like it's contracted. It's not swollen, it's contracted in, so that'll be where the oil's coming from. A little rubber seal there, hopefully it'll focus. There we go. You can see, just pulled in. So I'm imagining that should be a fairly flush fit on that shaft. Not have a big gap there. I'll have a look, see what we've got, if we've got anything here we can use, or whether I'll have to order one up. Yeah. Oh god, yeah, it's all cracked and knackered. That's okay. we can fix that. So it is just like a rubber washer, but you can see, hopefully, see it's all cracked and split. I'll have a look through, see what I've got here. Probably haven't got anything like that. I'll always look to see if I can order something up. So I've managed to order myself a gearbox seal to go to stop the oil coming out. And then have a look at dropping the bottom gearbox off to get to the impeller next. I've got a screwdriver. It looks as though there's one screw here and then the other at the back there. It's coming undone. Another flathead screw here. They've not been out for a little while, but they don't look, they've come undone quite easily. You can always wire wheel them, clean the threads up before they go back in. I'm going to take my rawhide hammer and see if the gearbox here will tap off. There's a big gasket that looks to be cork style gasket. I'm going to need a little scraper for that. I'll try and take him off and keep him intact. So I haven't got another one of these. Not sure which side's going to be the easiest. Seems to be coming away from the top okay. So that's the drive. It's a square drive down from the engine to the gearbox there. You can see the little impeller just sitting on the top there. It looks in good nick, to be fair to it. It could be that gasket. I might have to see if I can get a new gasket for it as well, because that's a bit chewed up. I think that just pops out of there. That's all. That's the little Seagull gearbox removed. Pop him up on the bench. It's quite clean in there. So I think we will need a new gasket though. The waterways look really clean. I don't know if that's going. There we go. See, the waterways are really clear, which is nice to see. It's not all gummed up with a load of salt and crud. And the little housing where the impeller sits is clean, it's not all scored up. Well, we'll give it all a clean up, put the new impeller in it, and see how she pumps water then. So I've got a few more bits for the Seagull outboard. I've managed to get a new oil seal, a little rubber washer that goes on the gearbox, as the old one was absolutely shot to bits. There's the old one. It's all just opened up, cracked, perished, not in much fit state for anything really. So I'm going to assemble that side of things, probably put the propeller back on the gearbox as well. I'm still waiting for a new gasket to come. It sits on the top of the box. Just put the impeller on. That's ordered, should be here possibly today, possibly tomorrow. So we'll have a look at piecing this one back together. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of red rubber grease on the rubber washer before it goes in, just to give it a bit of protection, a little bit of help in there, and then slide them over. Oh yeah, that's a really nice firm fit Oh, definitely the old one was shot. So he's pushed into the gearbox now, quite happily in there. He's sitting in the grooves, he's sitting nice and tight on the shaft as well. Right, I did order 2, so I've got a spare one. Just new old stock parts aren't always easiest to come by, so I thought I'd get a couple in there. So I've got the little bronze piece that goes in. It's like a spacer, goes on, and then the roll pin goes round through it to hold it in. Just cleaning the centre out with a bit of Scotch-Brite. Just so that face is lovely and clean before it goes back on. And that's looking good. There's no marks or anything there. I will just put a tiny bit of red rubber grease on that. So I've got the socket. Just give it a little tap. What I'm trying to do is line up the roll pin hole as well, so we can just knock the roll pin through. He's going down nicely now. Give him a little spin. I'll check. Yep, that's all on target so far. Maybe a little bit further he wants to go. Yep, looking good. Right, he's lined up so you can see through there now. The roll pin should hammer in through there and hold all that in place. I think the roll pin looks in brilliant condition, so I'm just going to pop that pin back through. I suppose you ought to change that for a new one, but as it looks in good nick, I'm happy to put that back in there. Nearly home with this one. Right, that's the roll pin all the way home. That turns nicely. The gearbox seal's good. It's got that new one in there. I'm happy with that. It's looking alright. We'll probably put the propeller back on. Little gearbox overhaul. So I've got myself a copper rawhide to try and tap the prop on with. That, I believe, is on. Typically it goes around not even tight there, so that's something, I suppose. Spring goes on. Sorry, it's not filming properly. So the prop's pushed on. A little spring that retains it. So if it hits the bottom or anything, hits a rock or something, snatch on the spring before it pops anything else. That should be a stainless washer, but it's not. And then I'll get a new split pin for it. So that's the little gearbox rebuilt. So that's looking good. Box of split pins. Find a suitable one to go through. That's a bit small, a bit thin. Thin as well. That one will do. Brilliant. That's the gearbox rebuilt for the time being. So look what's arrived in the post, my gasket. So I've had a little bit longer got a little bit more time to spend on it at the moment whilst I'm waiting for some car parts. I'm going to scrape the old gasket off the top of the gearbox here, a gasket scraper, and try and fit the new one up. And the little Seagull outboard's ready to go back together. We've got all our parts we need. Right, that's looking pretty good. A little bit of Scotch pad here. Just gonna used it earlier to clean off the water pump casing on a Volkswagen Golf I was doing the timing belt on. So you're really looking to get any remnants of any old gasket off and cleaning a mating face with the gasket up. Oh, so that's nice and clean now. So I've pushed my new impeller onto the shaft. That's ready to go. I'm going to set this up first, put my little gasket here, and then I can probably set the height that the impeller needs to be at. Because at the moment, if that goes in, that's going to push on that gasket. So it needs to lift up the shaft a little bit. That looks better. So he's just sitting above that gasket a little bit. And then that will sit in the housing of the bottom of the outboard there where this bolts to. I'm going to also clean up my bolts that hold this lot on. So I've got these two flathead bolts. Just going to run them through the wire wheel quick. So I just wire wheeled my bolts, so the threads all looking really good on them. I'll have a look at putting it back in now. I've got the outboard still suspended on the vice on the bench. Set that drive shaft up there. And locate that in. Remember, it's a constant drive gearbox on these. Try and align that gasket up somewhere straight. Gasket feels like it's pretty good in there. I'm just going to pull these down, just nip them up with the screwdriver here. You don't want to be loose, otherwise your gearbox would fall off in the water. Trying to do everything so the thread's facing, the top of the screw is facing in line with everything. Might have to change screwdrivers here, go for... Oh, that's not too sad. Well, that is on. Cool. That's the gearbox all back in. Strip in through there on the prop. New gear with seal. I will check the gear oil level again, because I'm sure where that's all drained out on the workshop floor, it's going to be a bit low. The same way as I checked it before. Undo the plug on the end. be honest, he still looks like he's got plenty of oil in there. So I've topped the oil back up on the leg, put the plug back in. The last little job I had on my to-do list was to change the spark plug, because I had a new plug for it. Let's see if the cap will come off. Big old spark plug under there, look. And I got a new one ordered up, so that has arrived as well. So we'll have a look at changing that. God knows how old that one is. So NGK A6. So a very retro spark plug that is. Still was working. Yes, the new plug here, an AB6 is the equivalent. I always like to start spark plug off by hand when winding it in, just so you don't accidentally tighten it up and strip the threads out of it. This one does appear to be a normal plug size, spanner size anyway. And just nip it up with a adjustable spanner there, or a spark plug socket. Always check the little top, little screw threaded piece on the top of the plug's tight as well. A couple of engines in the past where they've been loose, and yeah, caused a little intermittent misfire. Cool, so that's done. She's ready for a test. I do plan on getting my little inflatable boat out at some point and stick it on the canal quickly, or the river, and give it a little test. Well, with the weather like this, I might need the Seagull to go home with.